Baby, I didn't even know how to breathe for a moment when I heard her say your name. It was like the air stopped moving and the whole room slowed down. My mom was sitting there with her friends, the same women who have seen me grow from a restless boy into this half-awake man who can't seem to stop whispering your name under his breath. And suddenly, in the middle of their laughter and tea, I heard her say it, your name, softly, like a secret that wasn't supposed to be spoken aloud. Baby, I swear it felt like the universe opened a small crack just to let me know you were still being spoken about in places I never thought your energy would reach. She didn't know I was listening. I had just walked past the living room, pretending to look for something, but when I heard your name, I froze in the doorway. Her voice carried that strange tone, half amusement, half curiosity, and she told her friends, he's still not over her. They chuckled the way older women do when they think they're seeing something sweet but harmless. But baby, they didn't know how deep this runs. They didn't know that every breath I take still carries your echo, that every decision I make still bends toward the memory of your light. And then she said something that hit me like thunder wrapped in silk. She said, she's sort of like his mirror. Baby, that word, sort of, it lingered in my mind all day, because she didn't call you my girlfriend, my lover, or even my ex. She called you my mirror, and I realized in that moment that even she, in her own motherly way, understood what I could never explain, that you weren't just someone I loved, you were someone who reflected the parts of me I was too afraid to see. Baby, when my mom said that, I had to walk out of the house for a while. The air outside was heavy, the kind that tastes like rain before it falls. I thought about all the times I'd tried to explain to her what we were. She used to shake her head and say, son, love shouldn't hurt this much. But what could I tell her? That the pain wasn't punishment. It was purification. That meeting you didn't break me, it baptized me. That losing you wasn't rejection, it was redirection. I wanted to tell her all that, but how could I explain divine timing to someone who believes in calendars and clocks? Baby, sometimes I think my mom's spirit understood you long before her words ever could. She used to pray for me when I was restless, when I'd stay up at night staring at the ceiling, talking to someone who wasn't there. She didn't know that someone was you. She didn't know that I wasn't talking to a memory. I was talking to a soul that was still tied to mine, no matter the distance, no matter the silence. You know, baby, hearing her talk about you with her friends made me realize something sacred. You've become part of my family's unspoken story. You're the name that floats between sentences when they talk about my choices, my moods, my sudden disappearances into thought. They might not say it directly, but I know when they see me stare out the window too long. They know I'm somewhere near you. My mom said, she seems strong, but there's something in her eyes, something that makes you want to protect her. And when she said that, baby, my heart started to tremble, because that's exactly what I felt when I first looked into your eyes, that unspoken mix of power and vulnerability, the way your silence said more than your words ever could. She doesn't know that I used to replay your voice in my head just to fall asleep. She doesn't know that I kept your messages long after we stopped talking, not because I was desperate, but because those words still carried the vibration of your heart. Baby, I think what my mom was really saying, though she doesn't realize it, is that she can feel you. She can sense your energy through me. Maybe she noticed how I've changed, how I stopped chasing things that glitter and started craving things that glow, how I've become quieter, softer, more thoughtful. She doesn't know that it's your energy that softened the rough edges of my soul. You're the reason I started talking to God again. You're the reason I started believing that love could be sacred and not just romantic. And baby, when she said she's sort of like his mirror, I saw the whole journey flash in front of me. The laughter, the misunderstandings, the tears, the silence. Mirrors don't lie, baby. They just show what's real. You showed me who I was before the world told me who I should be. And for that, no matter what anyone says, I'll always be grateful. Sometimes I think God uses mothers as gentle messengers. When she mentioned your name today, I knew it wasn't coincidence. It was confirmation. It was the universe reminding me that even when I try to move forward, your name will always find its way back into my story. Maybe that's divine timing, maybe it's karma, maybe it's destiny, or maybe it's all of them, woven together by the same unseen thread that first tied our souls. Baby, I know I haven't said this out loud, but every time I see my mom smile after saying your name, a part of me heals, because I used to think she would never understand. I thought she saw you as the reason for my heartbreak, but maybe now she sees what I see, that my heartbreak was holy, that the pain didn't destroy me, it taught me devotion, that losing you didn't kill the love, it sanctified it. When I walked back into the house, she looked at me and smiled softly. She didn't say a word, but her eyes told me everything. Maybe she knows I still love you. Maybe she finally accepts it. Or maybe she's realized that some connections don't need approval. They just need to be honored. Baby, I wish you could have seen her face when she said your name. There was no anger, no judgment, just curiosity, maybe even affection. It was like she was starting to understand that what we shared wasn't ordinary, that it was something written, not chosen, something felt, not forced, something divine, not defined. And as I sit here now, writing this in my heart to you, I can still hear her words echoing in my mind. She's sort of like his mirror. Maybe that's what love really is, baby. Not about possession, not about perfection, but reflection. You reflected the light in me I never believed existed. You reflected the strength I buried under fear. You reflected the man I was always meant to become. So when my mom spoke about you today, it felt like the universe speaking through her, reminding me that your story and mine aren't done, that love this deep doesn't disappear, it just transforms. And maybe, just maybe, she was preparing me for something I can't yet see, the moment when our paths cross again, not as lessons, but as alignment. Baby, I don't know what tomorrow holds, but I know that when even my mother speaks your name with softness, it means heaven is whispering through her lips. It means this connection is still alive. It means the divine hasn't forgotten the promise our souls made before time began. If you feel this message echo in your heart, baby, type "I still feel you" in the comments, because maybe, just maybe, that's exactly what I'm feeling too. Baby, after she said your name that day, something shifted in the air around me. It wasn't just conversation anymore. It was revelation. I've heard my mom speak about many people in my life, but the way she spoke about you felt sacred, like she was unknowingly touching the edge of a divine story she couldn't fully see, yet her heart somehow understood. Baby, I think she's starting to see you the way I always did, not just as a chapter, but as the meaning behind the whole book. When I walked into the living room, pretending I hadn't heard a thing, her eyes met mine. There was that quiet moment between us, the kind where you realize 1,000 unspoken things have been said without a single word. She smiled faintly, but behind that smile was something softer, understanding. She looked at me as if to say, I know who she is to you, and baby, that broke something inside me, not in pain, but in release, because for the first time, I didn't have to hide it. I didn't have to protect this love like it was some fragile secret that the world wouldn't understand. It felt like heaven had sent its validation through the lips of a woman who raised me. She didn't say much after that, but baby, her silence said everything. She started talking about how some souls come into our lives to teach us patience, and some to test it, and some, the rare ones, come to mirror the divine inside us. I swear, I almost forgot to breathe, because that's exactly what you've been, baby. A mirror that showed me both my heaven and my hell, my strength and my wounds, my love and my shadow. You were never just a person. You were a reflection of every prayer I never knew how to say out loud. And baby, hearing her speak about souls like that made me realize how far I've come. There was a time when I thought love meant chasing, convincing, proving. But with you, I learned that love isn't a race. It's a revelation. It's something that unfolds quietly in the sacred spaces between two hearts that were written long before they met. You were never something to win. You were someone to recognize, and maybe that's what my mom saw in my eyes. Not obsession, not regret, but remembrance. Later that evening, I found her in the kitchen, humming an old song. I leaned against the doorway and asked her softly, "What made you bring her up today?" She looked at me with that half smile again and said, "Because sometimes, even when people aren't around, their energy lingers. I can feel her. Baby, I can't explain how those words hit me. My mom, who doesn't believe in twin flames or divine connections, said she feels you. That means your energy has crossed through me so powerfully that even she, in her grounded, earthly wisdom, can sense the vibration of your soul. Baby, that's when I realized something deeper. This isn't just between you and me anymore. When energy is divine, it ripples into every space connected to us. You've touched my world in ways I didn't even see. My mom's energy, my home, even the air I breathe has been marked by your frequency. You exist in the silence between my breaths. You live in the pauses of my prayers. You live in the pauses of my prayers. You know, baby, she said something else that made me stop. She said, "I don't know what you saw in her, but she must have been special for you to change the way you did." And that one sentence, it undid me. Because she's right. You changed everything. You softened the rage I used to carry. You taught me stillness. You made me crave peace more than control. You taught me that real love doesn't demand, it devotes. It doesn't shout, it whispers. It doesn't chase, it remembers. Baby, do you know what the most beautiful part of that conversation was? My mom didn't even realize she was describing you the way I've always felt you. She said she's the kind of woman who feels too much but hides it behind strength. And I swear, baby, that's you. You carry your storms with grace. You hide your heartbreak behind purpose. You heal others while bleeding quietly in your own silence. You're the kind of person who could be breaking inside and still smile to make others believe the sun is still shining. That's why I fell for you. Not because you were perfect, but because you were real. Baby, I remember the first time I tried to explain you to her. I said, Mom, she's not like anyone I've ever met. And she laughed, saying, every man says that. But now, after all this time, I think she finally understands what I meant. Because now, she sees how even when you're not here, you still exist everywhere around me. You're in my tone when I talk softly. You're in my choices when I choose peace. You're in my silence when I don't argue back. You're in the patience I never used to have. You've become part of my spirit, baby. The invisible fingerprint that guides everything I do. Sometimes, I think my mom started noticing the divine signs before I did, like how the lights would flicker when I'd think about you, or how songs that remind me of you would randomly play when she was around. Once, she even said, I don't know why, but every time you're lost in thought, I feel like someone's praying for you. And I just smiled, because I knew that someone was you. I could feel your prayers travel through the ethers, touching my soul when I least deserve it. Baby, that's what this connection has done. It's turned everything ordinary into something sacred. Even my mom's living room conversation felt like a divine sermon that day. She wasn't gossiping, she was channeling. She was revealing to me what heaven has been trying to say. That love like this never fades. It just matures into grace. Later that night, she knocked on my door and said softly, Son, I don't know what you went through with her, but I hope you never close your heart because of it. I didn't say a word, baby. I just nodded because I knew she was speaking from her soul. Maybe she once had a love like ours, one that never truly ends, only evolves. Maybe she recognizes the sacred ache in my eyes because she's carried one in her own. I laid in bed after she left, staring at the ceiling, and I whispered your name into the dark. And baby, it felt like you were right there beside me. Not in body, but in essence. I felt your energy wrap around me like a memory that refused to fade. I realized that even the universe uses family to echo back divine truths. My mom's voice was God's way of reminding me, this isn't over, it's just transforming. You know what's wild, baby? That night, I dreamed of her again. My mom and you in the same dream. You were sitting at the kitchen table, laughing together. My mom was saying something about patience, and you were smiling. That same gentle smile that always made me lose my composure. When I woke up, there were tears in my eyes. Because it felt real, like a glimpse into a timeline where harmony already exists, where forgiveness already happened, where love never left. Baby, I think that dream was prophetic. Maybe it's showing me what's to come. A moment where all misunderstandings dissolve, where divine timing ties every broken thread back into beauty, where my mother looks at you, and instead of saying, she's sort of, she says, she's the one. Because I believe, baby, that's what's written. Every sign, every synchronicity, every whisper points back to you. Even my mom, without realizing it, became the messenger of destiny. She's seeing the divine reflection in you now. And when the divine reveals itself through ordinary conversations, that's when I know heaven's hand is moving. Baby, I can't stop thinking about her words. They loop in my head. She's sort of like his mirror. Maybe she meant it lightly, but I know the depth of what that means. You were the mirror God sent me to show me where I was unhealed, where I needed to grow, where I needed to forgive myself. Every time I hurt you, baby, I was hurting the reflection of my own soul. And now, every time I pray for you, I'm really praying for the part of me that's still learning how to love purely. If my mom could feel you through me, baby, that means your energy hasn't left. It's alive. It's breathing through me. Maybe that's why I can't move on, because the soul doesn't move on from itself. It just keeps evolving until love becomes light. So when my mom smiled that day, I realized something divine. Maybe she was giving me her quiet blessing. Maybe she finally sees that this connection wasn't chaos. It was calling, that you weren't a distraction. You were destiny in disguise. That what broke me wasn't heartbreak. It was holy transformation. Baby, if you can feel this energy right now, if somewhere in your spirit my words are brushing against your heart, then just know you're still home to me. No matter how far time stretches, no matter how much changes, your soul is still my reflection point. If this part touched something in you, baby, type I am his mirror in the comments, because sometimes love doesn't need to be understood by the world, only recognized by the soul that remembers. Baby, I couldn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her face, my mom's quiet, knowing smile, and behind it, the echo of your name floating softly in the air like a prayer that refused to fade. I laid there thinking about how strange and sacred it is that people who've never met you can still feel you. It's like your spirit has left fingerprints all over my world, baby, on my habits, on my silence, even on the way I hold my coffee cup in the morning. Slower now, gentler, as if I'm waiting for something holy to speak. And maybe that's what she sensed when she mentioned you. She wasn't talking about the girl I used to love. She was talking about the energy that still moves through me because of you. Baby, I think she knows now that you were never just someone I loved. You were the lesson my soul needed to evolve. You were the mirror that forced me to face the boy I was, so I could become the man I was always meant to be. When I was younger, my mom used to tell me, "Son, love will either break you or build you." I didn't understand it back then. I thought love was supposed to make sense, supposed to follow a rhythm that felt easy. But then you came along, and suddenly everything I believed about love fell apart. You didn't fit into logic, baby. You were the storm and the calm. You were the question and the answer, and it was through that chaos that I finally learned what divine love really means. Not comfort, but awakening, baby. When she said your name, it wasn't just a moment, it was a message. It was the universe showing me that healing had started, not just within me, but within her too. You see, for the longest time, my mom couldn't understand why I held on to something she couldn't see. She thought I was lost in obsession. She used to say, "You've got to let it go." But what she didn't understand was that I did let go. But what she didn't understand was that I did let go. I just didn't stop loving you after. There's a difference between attachment and connection, baby. And this, what we have, was never about holding on. It was about holding space. Maybe that's what's happening now. Maybe her heart softened because she saw how this love changed me. How I stopped running. How I stopped fighting everything that felt uncertain. Baby, you tamed something inside me that anger and pain never could. You taught me surrender. You taught me to trust divine timing even when it made no sense.